the part that you're trying to read it per sentence, you know what I mean?
I read a lot more autobiographies, biographies, and
Same
stuff like
here.
that. Than
I'm very
anything.
nonfiction.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it depends.
scientific.
I'll get my fantasy on if Douglas wrote it.
Or Harry Potter.
Well, yeah, Harry Potter
yeah.
for sure, dude. But like all the anything Douglas Adams ever touched, like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, like Dirk Gently, Holistic Detective Agency. He wrote a couple Doctor Who's. They're so good. The way that guy writes is fucking hilarious.
Yeah. I'll have to ask y'all what y'all's favorite books are here in a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
We
cool.
might tell you.
Okay. I'm interested in what you want or what you like to read too.
Me?
Yeah.
Well,
we'll wait for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and. Hey everyone, welcome to the Nashville Artist Podcast. I'm Jordan, and today Gabi Lewis and Izaac Short of the band The Weird Sisters are here. So, welcome. I'm glad y'all got to come over
Thanks for having us.
to my house.
your house is awesome.
Our house. Jeremy and I's house.
Oh, I've seen y'all. Cause
Yeah.
I know Caitlin, I saw y'all at the 5 Spot.
Oh
Hell
hell yeah!
yeah.
I remember.
Awesome.
Y'all killed it.
Thank you, dude.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna start with Gabi here. And where are you from?
Well, I was born in Clearwater, Florida, but I also grew up in Canada because my mom's side of the family is Canadian.
Oh,
So I had the extremes of the hot and the cold
okay, cool.
and lots of snow.
How long did you live in Canada for?
It was kind of like half the year up until I was maybe 16 or 17. So.
Okay, and then you moved back to America, or like where'd you move then?
Well, I just was full-time in Florida until I was 18, and then I went to college. So
Where'd you go to college?
my first year I went somewhere in North Carolina. It was like the oldest women's college in the country, Salem College.
Oh wow, okay.
A little bit too much estrogen there for me, so I went and transferred to University of Michigan to their music school.
Oh, okay. And then you graduated from there and then moved?
Moved to
Nashville?
Nashville, yep.
Okay, so how long have you been here?
It'll be 7 years in September.
Wow.
So I've been here for a minute, and Nashville's been good to me. So,
Great. Do you have any siblings?
Nope, it's just me.
You're an only child.
Mm-hmm.
All your parents' attention on you.
Even still, yep. All the time. Hey, how's the music thing going?
I've heard the weather's raining down there. Be careful.
Yeah. Oh no, my mom tells me about the weather before my iPhone tells me about the weather. Every day, she's like, "Hey, you're getting a big storm." When the tornado came, forget about it.
Oh,
She was
God.
all over that.
Get up now! It's like you hear the siren.
Oh man, no, we definitely knew about the tornado because we have this, I don't know, it's some kind of, what would you even call it? behind
Seismic reader?
What do you mean the transformer?
What is
Oh.
that? Yeah,
We have
we've
like a
like,
little power station behind our house.
it's
two
not
big-
little, it's big.
Well, it's like two giant transformers.
And it
yeah.
caught on fire during the tornado. So we looked at our window and we saw these flames shooting like 50 feet into the air. We were like, oh my God, our house is going to burn down. Because we thought the flames would get on our house or something. There's trees all around. So.
How far away is this from y'all's house?
Like 50 feet.
Oh my God.
And I remember calling 911 because I panicked. I called 911 and it was literally like, your call cannot be completed at this time. And I guess we learned later that the 911 phone lines crashed right when the tornado happened. So.
Jeez.
Yep.
But y'all are further, east of the...
We were like further north. So like
Okay, yeah.
East Nashville, and then we're in Madison, so just up like a couple miles.
Okay. Y'all felt it at night, or did you wake up to
We
it?
heard it. Like,
Yeah,
it
because I was,
yeah.
it was only a mile away from us.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Woke up,
Yeah.
and it was like, my window was like, and it was like flashing white, like the white just lighting up. And oh my God.
Do you guys have a basement here?
Yeah, like I jumped
you go
up.
there?
Well, I jumped up and I like got into the hallway and I was like, oh my God, do I need to wake up my roommates? Like, do we need to get in the basement? And then I guess passed a little bit, or it wasn't as intense. And then I got back in bed and I woke up and everyone's like, are you alright? Text message,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. What are you talking about, dude? There's a tornado, the basement east is destroyed. Like, what? And then I was working at the turnip truck at the time, and I rode my bike to work, and devastation, 5 points and everywhere. Did y'all go to the middle of it? Or?
Of course. Yeah, we walked around there and we're just like, oh
Yeah.
my God. And then like
Terrifying.
literally COVID like right away. It's
Yeah.
just like
My heart goes out to all the families that like lost their home and then
Had
to immediately
COVID.
quarantine, or like,
yes. Like, what do you even do?
What do you do?
Where do you go?
like over there on 14th and Holly, it was like war zone.
Oh yeah.
At night you would hear like the sound of people like gathering stuff around their house, trying to put their lives back together again.
And there were cops parked all around, I remember, just because
blue
we would,
lights everywhere.
yeah, because of looting, and like we were walking around at night, and the cops were like, they come up and ask us like, "What are you doing?" We're like, "We're just looking around."
Right.
Yeah, they're like, bounce, get out.
Okay, you don't have to tell us twice. We got weed. Bye. That's how I always feel about cops. I'm like, oh, probably have weed.
Wait, sir, I got like 10 questions for you.
No.
Oh yeah. So when was the aha moment that you started? Music was like, oh, this is great, and then you were like, I want to start learning an instrument. By the way, what was the first instrument? I asked you so many questions.
No, it's okay. Well, piano was the first. My mom started me on piano when I was 8. I had one teacher and it didn't work out because I guess I was like trying to teach her how to play piano because I was one of those kids that was just all like, ah. But that didn't work. So then my mom found this other lady who taught me, and I just like really took to it. I loved it, but I would just like learn it as quick as possible from the sheet music, and then I wouldn't look at it again. I just like to play everything like as fast as possible. That was always my weird thing. I don't know. And then I started playing saxophone and did that for a while. And
when was that?
I was 12.
When you started playing saxophone? And you were 8 when you started playing piano?
Yep. So pretty young. And then I started playing in a bunch of jazz bands, and I toured with this one jazz band. It was called America's Youngest Jazz Band. This old guy, Sonny LaRosa, he directed it. He played trumpet. He was like 80 million years old, and he would just stand up there and we'd all like play like Glenn Miller and Count Basie, like all the old big band music.
Yeah.
So I got to do that when I was 12 to 14, and then I just did other stuff with jazz, and then I went full on classical when I was like 16 and just focused on piano because I wanted to study that in college.
And this was all in Canada?
It was in Florida. Actually, yeah, because I was like half the year in both places, and then Florida was pretty much consistent through my teen years.
What part of Florida?
Clearwater, so like Tampa Bay area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I grew up pretty close to the beach, and I miss it sometimes. It's it's beach. How can you compete with the beach? But yeah.
Okay, cool. So got into saxophone, and then did you pursue that more in high school, or was it pretty even with piano?
It was even until my piano teacher, he's this badass dude. His name's Dr. Mack, and he sat me down one day and he said, listen, all right, I'd never tell you to stop playing saxophone, but if you want to study piano in college, you need to start practicing at least like 6 hours a day, like right now. So it's on. And then I decided that that's what I wanted to do. So I just kind of lessoned the saxophone and went all in with piano. And I didn't really pick up sax again until I met Izaac in, I don't even know when I met you anymore. 2015. Yeah, that's when we met.
Okay, cool. So when was that conclusion made where you're like, okay, I got to commit to the piano? How old were you then?
16.
16.
Yeah, so I had like 2 years.
Grade.
2 years to get everything ready for auditions, and then I auditioned all over the country to all these different colleges, and decided on Michigan just because it was a really strong music program and I'd be able to explore my different interests at a big school like that. So
okay, you mentioned like Glenn Miller and Count Basie, so like I guess obviously if you were playing in a jazz band that would impact your playing, but what were other musicians or artists that inspired you to play music? What kind of music did you like?
Well, yeah, for sax, I mean, it was more like John Coltrane, Charlie Parker, kind of the bigger guys from the 50s, 60s, 70s. I loved Herbie Hancock always. And then classical, of course, I always loved. But I didn't really get into rock and roll at all until I met Izaac, and he showed me Led Zeppelin for the first time.
Really? So you were too jazz for rock? And
I was a little snob, if I'm going to be real with you. Like, I was like, oh, well, I don't know. But then he showed it to me the right way, and I was like, oh, well. And then he showed me synthesizers, and then that was all over. And I didn't really fuck with classical after that. I've just kind of been all in with the Weird Sisters and everything, so.
Nice. So your style would go, I would say, probably more composed and orchestrated back in the day to now more improv and like...
Yeah, that's true. And then, I mean, I also did conducting. That's something I studied in school too, like conducting orchestra. And I moved to Nashville to do that, and I did it for like 2 years. And I loved it, but it was just like, the culture was a little bit too, I don't know what the word is, but...
Aristocratic?
Yeah, kind of. And I always thought, like, yeah, I can hang with these people, but then I realized that I didn't really want to hang my whole life in that scene.
Were you at the Skirmerhorn?
I interned there for a summer, and then I conducted at Vanderbilt, and I had my own orchestra I started for a year. I did that, and then I was like, no.
Your own orchestra, how many pieces?
34.
Jeez. How did you organize that?
I don't know. I did.
One massive text?
It was the email back then.
Massive email.
The Nashville scene put out a blast that that I was looking for musicians to audition, and then a lot of people started calling and emailing me, and we had auditions, and then the orchestra started.
How do you audition? Did you audition individually, and then you're like, all right, now we'll put all of them together?
Yeah. Exactly. Like they'd have certain things they would prepare ahead of time, and then some sight reading, so make sure they knew how to read music and scales, things like that.
Was this like all on a volunteer basis?
It was a community orchestra.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was a nonprofit and everything. So did all the paperwork. But yeah, it was awesome. But I don't know. It wasn't as awesome as rock and roll. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm so scientific, and now I gotta like let all that go.
Yeah, I still, started smoking more weed and met this guy and
Relaxing a little bit.
jamming
right?
a lot and synthesizers, all that shit. So
You had your third eye squeegeed clean.
yes, exactly.
Opened.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so you would say like 8 was the aha moment when you started.
I don't know. I would say my aha moment. I was at a concert, and it was this. So Verdi is this Italian composer. He wrote this piece. It's his Requiem Mass.
It's Verdi?
Verdi, Verdi. He wrote opera, he wrote masses, orchestra stuff. And there's this one big piece called the Requiem Mass. It's huge. It's like double orchestra, huge choir. And I remember sitting up way in the top of seats looking down at the orchestra. And there's this part of the piece where it's just like everyone's playing it like triple F, triple forte, which is like as loud as you can play. And I remember just feeling this feeling like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever felt. I've never felt this way before. And I looked at the conductor and I was like, I want to be that guy. And that's kind of when it all clicked. And I think I was about 12 when that happened. So that was my moment. Yeah.
Like, I want to be a mad scientist.
I just wanted to be in the middle of all like the vortex, like all that sound going around me, and like somehow I know what's going on this piece of paper. Like, oh my God, it was really cool to me.
Awesome. So would you compose scores and write things out and then be like, here, we're all going to play this now?
Yeah, well, in college I did that because I was a music theory major, so I had to be able to write in different styles and do stuff like that. So I did have a couple of my songs performed, which was really cool. Wow. But I don't do as much of that these days.
You don't have those? Do you have those recorded?
I might have one somewhere. I'd have to go on the old laptop and dig it up. But
really,
yeah, I think.
Was it like press iPhone and then the whole orchestra plays and then you're like, all right, and then there it is, or was it like a phone, like a video recording, or what?
I think it was just like a recording for my own reference. So kind of like you said, iPhone. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I didn't get it all professionally done.
Oh, I see.
But maybe someday. I still have the music, so people can read it.
Yeah, that's
hopefully.
Cool. I'm a visual learner, so I love reading.
Awesome.
I like to see it on paper. It looks really interesting to me, especially drum notation. But I can read piano music as well. Not as well, but I like what it looks like.
Yeah, well, rhythms are hard to read anyway. It's like the hardest part, so.
Yeah.
Some say.
I mean, yeah. You got to be able to dance with your fingers, though, and that's 10 digits. I'm working with 4,
That is true, yes.
And then if you count your feet, that's 12, and then your mind, that's 13. So you're just like, I am controlling everything.
Yeah, I mean, you're like playing the orchestra. It's kind of the idea. Like, piano's the only instrument that you could.
It's all laid out.
You can take an entire symphony and reduce it to 10 fingers.
The highs and lows, yeah.
All the ranges are there, so.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been in Nashville for 7 years now.
Almost
7 years. What month and year specifically?
September 2014 is when I moved here.
Okay. And you graduated college in 2014. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Awesome. And you said originally what brought you here was conducting?
Well, it was really Vanderbilt. There was this certain professor I wanted to study with. She was like legendary in the classical world. So I wanted to just stay for a year and do that and then move on to do more school somewhere else. But then I met him and we started playing and my direction just changed, kind of. So,
Oh, yeah. How did y'all meet?
well, we met. The short story is that we had a mutual friend who invited us both over for dinner at the same night. So we ate spaghetti and we got high and we watched The Twilight Zone and with the sound off and listened to echoes.
Oh, shit.
So,
That is wonderful.
and just became instant friends. So,
Oh, yeah. That's the way to do it. Anyone that, like, lets you watch something really trippy and then also listen to Pink Floyd is a keeper in my
and
book.
feeds you spaghetti.
And feeds you spaghetti.
Yeah,
Is
I mean,
keeper in my book.
I agree.
Yeah, we were pretty much best friends after that.
We were.
You like this too? Oh my god.
Well, no, I remember we walked outside the house and we looked up, or I looked up at the trees, and I kind of was like, look, you ever think about how in wintertime the tree branches look like synapses in your brain? And then he was like, yeah. And then we're like,
They're lighting up.
and that's kind of when we were just like, okay, well, we're gonna be friends. But then he asked to borrow my bike like the next day, and I was like, no.
He said, fuck no.
Because I didn't know him that well. I'm not gonna just give you my bike. Like,
Did y'all like live close to each other?
No,
not at that time. He lived on Fatherland, and I lived like right next to Centennial Park, so like in West
Okay.
Nashville. Mhm.
Okay, so you were just like, I'll see if she'll let me borrow the bike.
Yeah, I was
Well,
hoping.
yeah,
I really
he was
just
really new
wanted
to
to see her
town.
again. Yeah,
Oh.
I was
Yeah.
brand new to town.
I was here for
Oh,
already a
okay.
year. He had just moved. He didn't have any friends, really. He was
Okay,
all sweet
great.
and 19.
But I ended up moving very close to her. I moved over to Berry Hill, kind of, so we just take, Westwood or whatever, and be over to her place in no time. And then after that, we were just spending time. And
Oh yeah. So you came later to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And he
Okay.
actually moved into the house that we met at that night.
Oh,
It
okay.
was interesting. He ended
Wow.
up taking over the lease and moving in there. So,
Wow.
mhm.
Okay, sweet. What would you say is like one of the biggest things you've learned living in Nashville since you've been here for 7 years?
Oh my goodness. Where would I even start? I mean, well, everything I know about playing live, really, I learned here. Everything I know about, like, marketing and promotion as an artist, I've learned here. Everything I know about rock and roll, I learned here.
What are examples of each one of those things?
Goodness. Well, playing live, I mean, just, the experience of taking all your gear, setting it up, playing, tearing it down, how to adjust to a room, how to deal with not great sound situations and still doing okay. What was the other one I said? I don't know.
Yeah, what did you say?
Oh, marketing. Basically, I mean, starting our social media when we first started the band and growing it and trying to experiment and figure out ways to reach new people and not spend money, because that's the goal always. Yeah.
Organic.
Yes, organic, grassroots. So all that, and there was something else I said, I just can't remember. But yeah.
So you said playing live,
Marketing,
and then
rock and roll. Yeah. So just, even learning how to play, instruments other than piano.
learning how to play straight, not swan.
Kind of, well, in
Wow.
some ways, kind of the opposite. Remember in the
Yeah.
beginning, first jam we ever had, man, I found his notebook a year or two later. I read his notebook. He wrote in the day that we had jammed, and he was like, man, she thinks she's so good, and she couldn't. You remember he said that?
Something like that, yeah.
He's like, she thinks she's hot shit, and she couldn't even play a blah, blah, blah. I remember that. And it was true. I mean, I was pretty arrogant back then, because that's kind of like, the whole classical mentality in a lot of ways. It's just like, nobody's better than us in classical music and this and that. And so Nashville knocked me down a few pegs in a good way, because I was just kind of thrown into a scene and a genre that I didn't know anything about. Like, I didn't know anything about playing bass, let alone playing bass on a synthesizer. Because we've never had a bass player. It's always just been my left hand, and that was totally new to me. Writing songs was new to me. Recording was new to me. It was all just new.
Wow.
So
It was like you had become like the master in the bedroom and like on stage, whatever, but like not all the, I guess, idiosyncrasies in between, like
yeah,
jamming and
yeah, exactly.
just playing, and we're not gonna study everything we're about to play. We're
Just gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's attracted me
Spontaneity.
most to it. Yeah, it attracts me so much, because I feel like a lot of my life is spent kind of like, all right, I gotta wait until I'm good enough. Oh, when am I gonna be good enough? Oh, you're never gonna be good enough. Because that's the mentality. It's like, well, fuck. I want to be good enough now. Like, let's just do it. So it's kind of how it all just came to be. I was tired of waiting to be good enough and want to just start making mistakes and growing and learning and becoming something.
Yeah.
So
my friend Nathan Sletner, he was on this podcast a couple episodes before, but he was like, his first drum teacher, he's like super bad. Nathan's really good at playing drums. That's his instrument. But his first teacher asked him this like profound, what I thought it was profound, and was like, all right, what do you want to do with the drums? And he's like, what? Or he's like, I just want to be a drummer. And he's like, all right, now you're a drummer. Now what? And he was like, oh shit, I didn't realize it was like you just take it on, and then it's how far you want to take it. And I was like, there's no level at which, all right, you're now this. You just kind of be it, and then it just, there's not a point where you're like, now I've achieved, like I can be called this as my instrument. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, that's kind of what I was tired of. Just like, well, time's ticking. Like, let's go. Let's do it.
And you came to that like 6 years ago?
Oh no. I'm trying to think of when that would have. When was that? When did we do that thing?
When we broke your arm?
No, I don't want to tell that story.
Okay.
No, it hasn't been enough time yet.
Well, that was 2018.
Okay, so it's now been just about 3 years since I made the full switch. Yeah, I was just kind of done. And I loved the band a lot. Loved what we were doing together, and just the idea of growing something from nothing and going to the shows and all the cool people I'd meet, like you and everyone else, and just people just so happy and excited to hear music and wanting to hang out and share ideas and be creative. And it was, I don't know, it was something I'd never experienced, and I just loved it.
Yeah, it wasn't in such like an academic sense.
Exactly, yeah.
What is some advice you would give to someone moving here to Nashville who wants to pursue art? Art meaning music, painting, the gamut.
I would say everybody you meet can be an important person to know. Don't focus on only going to the places you think the most important people are, to meet them, to network. Most important person you could ever meet could be at the grocery store. So and by important I mean quality people. Like, don't be focusing on meeting all the best possible connections. Be focused on just making some quality connections with good people that'll be friends, that'll have your back, that'll just, make your experience better. Because I've met some of the best people I've ever met in my life in Nashville. Izaac included in that for sure. So that would be one set of advice. And the other set of advice would be, don't ever give up if you have a bad experience, a bad show, a bad, something that was negative, you didn't feel your music or your art was well received. Just, don't let that affect you, and just keep your eye on the prize, which is really just having the opportunity to practice and explore your creativity.
Awesome.
A little big maybe, but
no, I think that was great. You definitely, you just have to be like open to every person you meet.
That's the simplest way to say it. Thank you. That's what I meant.
You don't know what they're capable of talent-wise, or how cool they could be, or it's really hard you can't really judge people here. It's kind of like judge them by their efforts.
Exactly, and I've been to like some big industry mixers, like at Marathon, where it was all just, I used to work in the industry briefly at a company, and it was all just exclusive, passes, you only get in if you have this pass. And I went in there, and not only did I not meet anyone that was of interest to me, they were all kind of assholes. So after that experience, it kind of made me think like, man, I met people that I know and work with, and I've met them at like the Springwater or at, Mickey's or wherever, and they weren't at some highbrow industry thing. Because at the end of the day, I think that shit's important, but it gets overblown, and it's just kind of like this, this like boys club, or like this, you gotta have a certain credentials to get in this door, and it's just stupid.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
I like Nashville because I feel like your creativity is like your credibility. You know what I mean? Especially here in this town. Like, no one cares if you have a lot of money if you're really creative, because it's like then you can connect with more people, and all that other stuff is inevitable if you're doing that. You know what I mean? So
Totally.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. And the local scene's so supportive too.
Yeah, and
Yes.
it's like,
We're all in it together.
yeah, exactly. We're all keeping this industry alive, keeping the indie artists alive. All right, this is the last question, then I'll move on to Isaac. What is something absurd that you love to do?
Absurd.
Absurd.
Man, I'm gonna think about that. You might have to press pause for a second, actually. Do I do anything absurd? Like...
Well, dude, yeah, I mean, you're a very light sleeper.
Oh, come on. We gotta get into that.
Okay, what else? What else do you...
I'm trying to think of what I even do. Okay, because right now...
I guess it was a little absurd that it took you a while to branch out of, like, written music and, like, orchestrations.
That's true. Yeah, I kind of, to be
No
totally...
judgment, but that,
To be honest with you, man, I kind of think my whole existence right now is pretty absurd because all I did for my whole life was, like, go to school. Okay, I'm gonna practice Beethoven now. Maybe a little Mozart. Ooh, we'll spice it up with some, like, John Coltrane. And then I move here, meet him, start his band, you know, play some good shows, put out a record. And now I'm just like, I go to work, and I work like for 12 hours a day. And then I go home immediately, we start recording, then I sleep, and then I go to work. And it just kind of feels like this dual existence, which we all have, of course, because everybody has a day job until you don't have to. But I don't really think anything absurd. I mean, I like to smoke weed. I smoke a lot of weed. That's not absurd. Yeah, you pass the ass?
I gotta hit it.
I don't know. I can't think of anything.
You don't rub the lucky stone or anything?
Oh no. I mean, I wish I was like into that kind of shit, but I'm just not. I'm just not.
You're a realist.
I mean, to a fault, dude. Like, I mean, I'm a little bit of a dreamer here and there.
I think
like,
you're kind of like me, very analytical.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I was a music theory major. Like,
yeah, extremely
we
analytical.
theorize about music instead of playing.
I think about the theory.
Yes.
Of the theory. Of what he thought about the theory.
In about 10 minutes, when you're talking to him, I'll be like, hey, hold on, I thought about that absurd thing I do.
That's fine.
Let's just, yeah.
There can be a little bit of interjection.
We'll move on for now.
Okay, we'll come back to... Alright, Isaac.
Hey. I feel like I'm listening to a podcast. I'm just like in real time. It's so chill.
I know. This has been the first experience where I've had two people on here.
Oh, cool.
Really? Cool.
Yeah, this is a unique experience for me and for this podcast.
Well, thanks for having us both.
We're honored. Hopefully we're not too interrupting and non-linear.
No, this is great. This is great. Any sort of tangent is definitely encouraged because it keeps it fun for everyone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How would we know what you had to say if you didn't just say it?
That is true.
Can't read each other's minds.
You're right. Well, not yet.
Not yet.
If Elon Musk has anything to do with it, you might be able to someday.
Maybe.
I'm trying not to let anyone read my mind, bro.
Yeah.
That'd be awful.
I wouldn't have friends anymore.
Actually, if I touch people's heads, I can start reading their minds.
Give it a touch,
Stay
bro.
away,
Touch
bro.
it.
No, you don't want it. You don't want to know what's in those cobwebs, in those corners.
All right, cool. Well, Isaac, where are you from?
I am from a town called Coal Center, Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's a very beautiful place. I grew up on a farm in Pennsylvania. My folks have like a 30-acre farm, but it's surrounded by like other farms. So yeah, it was pretty out there, kind of what I would now consider to be the middle of nowhere. But growing up there, it just felt it was like a lot of small towns around there. So it's like it was normal. This is the first city I've lived in still. So
What was your elementary school like?
Oh well, dude, you want to get into that bullshit? Let's think about it, because when I started, like, I remember like kindergarten, first grade, there were 4 kids in my class.
So you were like homeschooled?
No. It was like it was a Christian school, dude. It was Bentleyville Wesleyan Christian Academy. So there was Brittany Chicatano, Katie Lukage, Gregory Sigler, and Isaac Short, and that was it. So and then I went to like a fucking Catholic school, and it was kind of fucked. There was probably like maybe 15 kids in that class. And then I eventually went to public school, and I did that till, I graduated. But it was like, it's like 60 fucking dudes. And
chances are you're fucking somebody, you're fucking your friend's sister, cousin.
Oh, dude, I definitely tried not to do that, dude.
How could you not, though?
There's different school districts, dude. Like, the Mon Valley is a curious thing. But we all did know each other. Like, everybody knew each other. Everybody knew your parents. Like, I have older brothers, too. I'd be in school, and it was like, my brother graduated with all their parents,
Yeah, because his brothers are a lot older.
Graduated with all their parents?
Like his friends' parents.
Yeah, it was like that generation, like my brother's generation, like banged their significant others at that point in time and had a bunch of kids that were like of my generation. Oh. So like my brother is 24 years older than me. He graduated in 89. So it was like, yeah, it was like every time I go to a friend's house, I'd be like, oh, I remember your brother. Like, is he still riding his bicycle? Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
And the answer is yes.
Yes,
yeah.
he is.
So how many siblings do you have?
I have 2 siblings. So I have...
Both older?
Yeah. So Justin, and they're both like my best friends. You could ask for have better people in your life than my family, man. So it's Justin. He's 24 years older than me. He lives out in Spokane now. And then there's Brian. He's 28 years older than me. And yeah, he lives
So
everywhere.
you're a good time.
It was a good time, baby.
I'm a
That's
good
what he
time, baby.
was.
I'm a good time baby too.
Me too. Hey, late in life. How old are your parents?
My mom was 41 and my dad was 48 or 49.
Oh.
Yeah, my dad was 49 when I was born. Yeah.
My mom was 38.
Big dad.
My dad was 43. Yep. Now they're old. They're old as fuck.
Yeah.
Well, yours are too.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah.
That's how it is. My parents were actually here this weekend.
Oh.
Partied. We went to Rosemary's.
What?
What?
Yeah,
You went to Rosemary
With
with
your
your parents?
Yeah, they
Listen to us. We're all like minds blown right
dude,
now.
dude, it was so much fun.
I don't got parents like that, dude.
I'll
Me
show you-
either.
I'll show you like some pictures. My dad at one point was like dancing and cutting rug. Everyone in Rosemary's was like, "Oh my god!" At one point, I was using "That's my dad" as a pickup line.
Oh my
That
god.
should be the tagline for this whole podcast. Like if you do a little preview or something, just say that. I like that.
He was loose and grooved. Both my parents they're like, "Jordan, we gotta go back to Rosemary's." So hey, great. Like they had a great time. We stayed there till 2 a.m.
How?
And then I took my parents to a freaking cookout and I bought them shakes. And then we came home and we all went to sleep.
They had the same night we had at the East Room Friday night. We went to cook. We got more than shakes though. We bought the whole menu.
Oh yeah.
After, like,
No, we bought.
Okay,
yeah,
because after a
burgers.
second,
Yeah.
the poor lady
I
on the
bought
thing, she was
trays.
like, "Is that all?" We're like, "No."
No, I'm a good chili cheese dog, extra cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheese bites.
We want several trays.
Oh god, I loved to go in there. We took our buddy Evan there on his after we went to
Oh,
Villager for his
he was
21st
leaning
birthday,
out the door, just throwing up,
and
as
we're
just
trying to
going.
order. Yeah.
Oh god.
And
It was a great 21 for him. We were at the Villager. You know how they do the dog bowl?
oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so they just
Yeah.
like beer in the dog bowl. Whenever Evan would turn his head, Isaac would just pour his whole beer into the dog bowl. So Evan would keep like
just
drinking it,
never
thinking
ended.
Yeah.
exactly. And that poor boy.
We're like, Evan, you gotta finish it, dude.
Oh my
you gotta
god,
finish
he
it.
was
Good God,
wasted.
man.
And then we had this thing. I don't even know what you call it, but it's the thing you get at the porn star where you like.
Oh, yeah, it's
you
like
can
the-
stick your dick in it and fuck it.
The bottom half of a
Sand.
woman. Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, what?
It's all silicone. Like
Yeah, it's like this thing you buy and you
it's not
bang
a
it.
it's not a flashlight.
And they had that at the bar?
Well,
No,
someone
it
just
was-
came and
one of
dropped
his
it off to him.
roommates
Yeah.
gave it to him as a gift, right? So he's so wasted. We're taking this silicone like ass with like pussy and like just kicking it around like a soccer ball around the street. And it was making this sound. I'll never forget. It was like a. It was so fucking weird. And I'm just like hammered, just watching this like ass just like fly through the air and then smack on the road.
Right in front of Belcourt, dude.
Just
Give a
jiggle.
fuck. Yeah.
So weird.
Oh, there's a lot of jiggling going on.
A lot of jiggling. And then I took a photo of him. He was passed out on my futon that night, and he had the ass. It was just right by his head. It
pillow.
was just right by his head.
Yeah, it's just like this pussy, and then like Evan's
I think
sleeping
I
like
have
an
that
angel.
somewhere on my phone. I gotta find it.
That's a good one.
The stress relieving object to throw.
I mean, it's something.
It's a great night, man.
Nashville's brought me by far the best times I've ever
Some
had in my
crazy
life.
nights.
Like I've met some people in this town. Like people, we have a habit of going out sometimes, and we'll meet people that are just passing through that'll never come back again. And then we're like, hey, we'll come back, come hang. And they come to our house, and we drink some beers, we smoke some weed, and they crash on the couch, and then they leave. And we've never attracted like a serial killer or a rapist or anything. Like we've been totally like in the clear, which makes me believe that majority of people are actually good.
Definitely. Definitely majority of people are good. I mean,
The majority of people are definitely not rapists.
if that wasn't
I hope so.
if that wasn't the case, I mean, it would be like treacherous to go outside.
Yes, that's true.
Guys with machete running down the street.
Yeah, that's just Bill.
It's okay. He's trying to go.
He forgot to take his back pill.
Yeah,
Oh,
just trying to avoid him.
oh man.
He's a little stressed out.
It's okay. It's, Give him the blunt. He'll be fine.
Yeah, it's a small town. We'll medicate him, get him on his way.
Got off track a little there.
Gotta find an awesome track there. Okay, so how did you get into music?
Oh, me. Let me think about that, because music wasn't like a huge part of like my family's existence.
So what was it like at the Short House for the first 15 years?
For the first 15 years.
Just like...
Oh, so much. So much happened.
Just how can you put your life and your farm life and everything into a perspective to where people can see it in their mind's eye?
Well, in the summertime...
The 8th grade boner. It's an important story.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's a good place to start, actually, I think.
Well, I guess we get to that. But, like, my folks are very beautiful people. My dad was particularly worked really hard to make sure that I had a lot of discipline. So, like, in the summer times, too, because, like, you know, my dad was a coal miner. My mother's a nurse, like, very classic Pennsylvania upbringing. And so, in the summer times, you know, they're working. So, my grandma, like, looked after me and my cousin. So, she made sure that we worked, you know, the majority of our summers when we had summers. And that would be a lot of, like, you know, we go next door, we clean the stalls out for the neighbor's barn. You know, you just shoveling shit for a couple hours. You know, we worked at a farm down the street. So, we'd have to split peas and, like, feed the pigs. You know, it came time to get all the hay. We'd have to, you know, we'd throw hay for, you know, like the whole week. And so there was just a lot of that type of stuff. You know, we had cows for a while when I was growing up too, and a lot of maintaining that. A lot of grass to cut, learning how to, you know, be on a tractor and, you know, not be a bitch about it. And, you know, because I wasn't made for that, like, in a sense. Like, I figured out how to do it, but I mean, man, I was a soft kid, dude, in a sense. And like my folks made sure that I knew how to work really hard, and that's like the best thing anybody could give you in your life. But when she's talking about the 8th grade boner,
That's wonderful.
yeah, oh, no one works harder than my folks, man.
Your parents were just like, this is what you did. Like, they kind of laid everything out. And
They're not like crazy like disciplined people, but if you see somebody else working, you make sure you're working with them. You make sure you're helping. Like, if someone's in the kitchen doing the dishes, you're drying them. You know, like that kind of shit.
I got you.
Yeah.
Being considerate, being cognizant, aware of the situation.
Yes. And to know that we're all in this together, and it, like, you know, it takes a team to, you know, to make something happen.
I'll remind you of that the next time I'm in the kitchen with some dishes.
Yeah, I guess so.
Sorry, I had to say it.
Yeah, man, it's over here. But yeah, my grandma was particularly hard on me and my cousin in a lot of different ways. She just has this bellow that, like, you know, I can still get it ringing. She's out there.
It rings
yelling.
in my ears, and I've only known you a few years. So.
Yeah.
She would ring a bell.
No, her
it's
bellow.
Like
My grandma's yell.
Isaac!
Oh, I see.
Like
Yeah.
the timbre of her voice.
It's like she called the children, and it's like she's calling a dog. We'd be down in the woods or something, and be like, oh no, grandma.
Should they bark at?
Oh yeah. The cruel hand of my grandmother, but she's also one of the most beautiful people I've ever known in my life. They all just, like, you know, they made sure that we knew how to work hard, and we had a lot of fun too, for sure. You know, it wasn't all like blood, sweat, and tears or something, but.
What were some, like, your fondest fun memories? What was, like, the most fun you did in your childhood?
Oh man, I don't. That's such a crazy question. My probably fondest memories were just probably being outside, walking through the woods endlessly, or something like that.
On a 30-acre farm.
Yeah, well, all the other farms kind of butt up against it. And there's just
so it's
huge
just like
woods.
Fences or whatever, just
well,
like.
Yeah, we had a huge fence. Me and my dad built
barbed
it.
wire.
Barely,
Yeah, barbed wire.
Because isn't there that neighbor that always is like, oh, neighbor, whatever, move the boundary line. Like,
They always bickered about the boundary line. Like,
that's common with big acres, yeah.
Well, you know me, man. Like, when I get in the woods, like, I'm just going wherever I want.
No.
But you always know where that boundary line is too. Whenever you've taken me through there, you're like,
There's the boundary marker. Yeah, well, you become aware of that type of stuff. You know where everyone's property is, and you know it's all old farms, so it's like the fence that we built. Me and my dad, we did with railroad ties and like roof bolts from the coal mine for like, you know, the fence posts and stuff, and you know it was all, you know, pretty much the whole farm was a 30-acre electric fence, barbed wire, and it was because we had a couple beef cows, and we had our pet cow Annabelle, that might be my one of the sweetest things of my childhood was just having that pet cow Annabelle. I mean, I still eat burgers and shit. I'm not crazy or anything, but
Sure. How long was she around?
23 years. Yeah, so long before I was born. She died when I was about 12. Broke my heart, but
Oh, okay.
yeah. She was amazing.
So you said you on a 30-acre farm, like would you just like wander across people's fences? How would you get over the barbed wire fence?
Oh, well, you know how to do that, man. You just
Throw
crawl
it
under
on.
it. No. You just
walk
jump
over.
over it, crawl under it.
We still do that when I go home with him. Like,
Every fence, there's a way to get through. There's a hole in it somewhere. There's a gate. Like,
Did you ever like get into any night mischief?
do you? No, obviously you don't. No,
Well, yeah, it's
all we get into is night mischief.
Night mischief.
yeah.
As a kid, like rolling houses and shit.
What do you mean rolling houses?
So you take toilet
Oh, like a teepee. Yeah, I know what you mean.
and then you throw it in their trees.
Oh, dude, there was yeah, I used to TP houses. There was one dude, John Galletti, man. I TP'd his house every night for like about 2 weeks just to fuck with him. Like,
Wait, wasn't that the same guy that we still call sometimes?
no, dude.
A different guy. Sorry.
Was he just like
He was just the dude on
neighborhood, or like could you walk to his house?
No. This is like when I was like 16 or 17. Like I would steal my grandma's car, and then I would drive all the way to fucking Roscoe, and I would TP his house at like 2:33 in the morning, and then I would go to school the next day, and just watch him like freak out because him and his parents were like, who the fuck is TP in our house? We can't even figure out when they're doing it. Like, and I would.
Because you're sleeping, dumbass.
I don't sleep, so it's just like I would just roll down
This is
there,
a true story.
and I'll torture people like that after a while. Like if John Galletti ever hears this, man, like he'll be like, oh, that's who it was. You know, I never told him.
Oh wow! To this day. Wow, the treasures.
No,
truth.
Isaac's stories are some of the best I've ever heard.
That's great,
Just the
dude.
things he's done and gotten away with, and I think the statute of limitations like 10 years. Is that what it is?
Who cares, man?
Yeah, who
I don't
cares?
admit to
You're
anything.
right. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone took it very seriously and took it, I would be flattered that they like listen to this and were like, oh, it's like, wow, there's people that are that intent on.
Or they just want justice that bad. They're gonna dig around until they can find it. Like, who knows?
Which is ridiculous, 'cause it could have all been in a dream.
Sure thing, man.
Ain't that the truth?
Sometimes I confuse reality with my dreaming life. And I'll dream something and it's so realistic that like it'll just blend in with some of my what my memories of reality, and I'm like, wait,
Same.
That was a dream.
I think it's all part of your reality, though,
Yeah.
because I think that, you know...
Your dreams influence your reality, and your reality influences your
Well, I've also heard that no matter like in your dreams, whatever face you see of a person, it's a person you've seen in real life. Your mind won't make it make like a new face and like put it in your dream. It'll be like all regurgitating things you've seen.
Yeah. It's all part of your experience, too. That's the thing, like your reality that you live in is just an amalgam of your experiences. You know, if you're experiencing something in a dream, like it's just as important as, you know, sitting down here, you know, talking to you, you know, face to face or something like that. Just because, you know, your mind invented it, or it's, you know, who knows what that is. It's a crazy subconscious experience, right? And how quickly you forget all of it too. And then when you do remember it, it's always like at the craziest moment when you're grooving on something. You have like a flashback to a dream, or like, you know, you remember an old memory that you haven't thought about in, you know, 25 years or something.
Right.
Yeah. Because I remember stuff like, you know, I have really early memories, man. Like, I remember like not being able to walk. I remember being in a high chair, like my mother trying to feed me and stuff like that. It's
Dude,
That's insane.
It's really
I
weird.
don't have
I remember
anything
this
that early.
too.
You
That's
do?
so cool.
When were you born?
September of 1995.
What about you?
August
Yeah.
95?
2.
Of 90,
2.
92.
You think it has something to do with it?
February 91.
91.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe the days are longer. It's like the end of
So
summer.
like I remember, I swear to my parents that I remember being born, and like remember like looking up at my grandmother and like my parents as they looked at me.
You really feel like you
I
remember
could,
that?
but no one ever believes me, and I'm like, all right, I'll just keep it to myself.
Can you describe it?
Yeah, I was laying down, looking up, and it was my grandmother and my mom and my grandfather. Or no, it was just my grandmother and just my mom looking down at me, and I was just like, you know, this is like the earliest memory I've ever had. Maybe I was 1, but all I remember being like, just, you know, observing. I couldn't really move, you know what I mean? When you're a baby, you're just kind of like sedentary for the most part. People are moving you around, and so yeah, I just remember looking up and seeing the grandmother that you read that stuff from that book from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's profound.
There's no way that wasn't real. That's real.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
That's my mom's mom. Her name was Dot Yoder.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband's name was Bob, so it was Dot and Bob. Anyways, back to I took it off.
No, it's okay.
No, that was. Thank you for that. That it made it come to life in my mind. Like, I can imagine the whole scene. It was really cool.
Awesome. Cool. Well, are your brothers? Do they play music?
Yeah, yeah. My brother Justin is an amazing musician. He was a big part of turning me on to music. Kind of after I started playing guitar and stuff like that.
When did you start playing guitar?
I picked up a guitar when I was about 8, but I took piano lessons before that.
Oh.
They were rather unsuccessful in.
He didn't like to read music, unlike me.
Okay.
Well, I didn't know I didn't like to read it until like 10 years later. But
Yeah, I struggle with that part. I started taking piano lessons when I was about 6. My mother, she was doing a home health situation, and she would, she'd travel to people's houses and do that type of nursing. This guy gave her a piano when he passed away, and so there was just like this grand piano, which like sitting in the living room. And my mother used to play classical music, but I think she was kind of encouraged to take a more realistic approach to life and like be a nurse. So she ended up hurting her arm, so she really can't play anymore. So when I was pretty young, she had me taking piano lessons. And I went to this first guy, Danny. Like wasn't I learned all the scales and like little songs and stuff. And then I moved to another piano teacher, Jody, and then she was trying to show me all the classical stuff. And I was probably like 7. And I started taking saxophone lessons too in the Catholic school. And like you'd usually seen this band, it was so small. It was just a couple of us, and I was the saxophone player, and I really took to the saxophone. I liked it. But I started taking lessons from a guy, Mr. Mills, who's very much a legend around the Mon Valley. Incredible piano teacher, and everyone that he was teaching was to go play in churches. It was a music ministry training program that I was involved with. And I was already into like rock and roll at that point. Like I really liked 50s rock and roll a lot. Like
Motown.
Not even Motown,
Elvis,
dude.
bro.
The Elvis was huge for me.
Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry was, I saw Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. Oh,
and I was like, fuck this shit. I want to play the guitar.
dude, you'll have to listen to. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you'll have to listen to the first episode of this podcast because Travis says was what got him riled up.
I think I've heard that from a lot of people. I think that was a huge moment.
I mean, I remember it too. I was like, this is rock.
Yeah, I mean, it just set me on fire, and I was already into the music. Like I was drawing pictures of Elvis and like Jerry Lee Lewis and Little Richard and like Bill Haley in the comments. Like I just love that type of stuff. And then I figured out that like Chuck Berry existed, and I started getting like 45s and stuff. Because we always had a record player growing up. It was just like a thing. And that was it. After that, I started taking lessons from Dave Pahanish, he lives down here now. He's a very successful songwriter and amazing, beautiful person. But he was up here in Pennsylvania, and we were kind of the same town. So I showed up to the first guitar lesson with bass guitar. And and he says, "What do you want to learn, kid?" And I was like, "Johnny Be Good." And he's like, he looked at my bass guitar, he looked at me, he's like, "Well, I can show you how to play the bass, but you should probably get a guitar." And my uncle plays guitar too, and he hadn't played in a couple years, so he gave me a classical acoustic that he had kind of sit in the closet, and that was how I kind of got started and started learning songs. I learned Knocking on Heaven's Door first. Then you learn how to play Crazy Train and all the other bullshit. And I had another really good teacher in my life, which was a gentleman we were very good friends. I had Dwayne Galensky, who was a retired electrical engineer, incredibly fastidious and brilliant human being. Probably one of, if not the best teachers I've ever had in my entire life. Because Dave, my first teacher, he moved down to Nashville, and I was like 12, and I was still pursuing guitar lessons, and I started taking them from Dwayne, and Dwayne's a huge blues head. And I remember walking in there, I was just, my taste had developed, I suppose. I walked in there with a Guitar World magazine that had Eddie Van Halen on the cover. It was like, I just heard 1984, heard the first Van Halen album, I was all stoked on it. It was like, it had some tablature in the back. I was like, yeah, can we listen? And to a 12-year-old, he's like, "Listen, if you're going to bring bullshit like this in here, I'm not going to be your teacher." He's like, "I can show you how to play the guitar, or I can show you how to be a bitch." And he's...
We all know how he feels about around here.
Well, no, I mean, everyone respects Van Halen, but when a kid's like trying to learn how to play the essence of music and understand things, it's like he wanted to start me with like the fundamentals, and
which is smart.
not even the fundamentals, but just like
Develops your ear.
Yeah.
well, he fucked my ass up, man, because
really in a way.
oh no,
In a good
the best way
In a good way.
a person could fuck a 12-year-old up, because
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Dwayne and
Let's
I
be
are-
clear here.
The Dwayne might be one of the biggest influences on my life, man, because he showed me music that I would have never heard otherwise. I mean, I was hip to like Clapton and The Who and like Deep Purple and shit like that, but like he showed me like the Allman Brothers, he showed me Albert King, he showed me T-Bone Walker, he showed me like just like Clapton. We sit there and we learn stuff, we maybe trade licks, but as our lessons developed, it became less about understanding the mechanics of the instrument, but more let's talk about Carlos Santana today. Okay, cool. So we go in there, we listen to half of Abraxas or something, and then we talk about like what's it, he's playing these notes like so fucking what? Why is it hitting us in the heart so hard? What is that the specific artists have? When you hear one note, you hear Carlos Santana, you hear Freddie King or something. Like it's like how is like what's that innate uniqueness and soul that is in music? And that was more the as shit developed, that was the more stuff. And we played together a lot, subsequently, but fucking incredible guy.
And you're making me think about all my teachers and how grateful I am too for all that.
Yeah, I was lucky to find Dwayne.
Awesome. That was your first teacher?
My second teacher with the guitar, but I guess I started taking lessons when I was probably like 12. And
12.
So your second was the one for you too.
Yeah, it always, but it became less about playing and just more about like just thinking about it and discussing it and talking about approaches and
concepts, conceptual.
Very conceptual.
Yeah.
And him being a electrical engineer, he would always take the steps to really blow his students' minds, and he pushed us hard. I mean, I remember, freaking out not being able to play. Was it Key to the Highway, the live one, the Derek and the Dominoes? Like just not being able to get the intro was real weird. It starts like on like a 2-and or something. They turn around and it's like, dog on my ass.
I have a question for you though.
What?
No, I've never asked you this before. Do you think that Dwayne, because I know what Dr. Mac did for me, did Dwayne like ever make you feel like, okay, so say you'd ask him a question, right?
Yeah.
Would he just give you the answer, or would he ask you a question and make you answer it for yourself?
He made me work for it. Yeah.
See, that's exactly what my teacher did with me, and that kind of set the bar for me going forward, always with, how I would learn, and also when I have my own students for music, I would always try to flip it.
Solve your own fucking problems.
But what that really is it's giving you the tools to go out there on your own someday and not have somebody to just be there. Because if you're just always getting the answer, you're basically just taking the fish, not to be cliche, you're taking the fish from the person's hand rather than actually understanding how to get the fish for yourself. And I was just curious, Isaac, because I never asked you that before, but I'm glad I know that now. Mm-hmm. I'm not surprised. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's the mark of a great teacher.
I think all the big teachers were, like fellas, over 50 or 60. They showed me a lot about music. Yeah, and they show you the stuff that, somebody maybe your own age can't turn you on to.
Definitely.
Yeah. My brother did that for me. Like we were talking about my brother. He left like a stack of albums in the basement when he moved out, and like, probably the year I was born. So there was like the first 3 Metallica albums, like a bunch of AC/DC records, Kiss Alive 1 and 2, like you just kind of get a little bit from everywhere.
Definitely. Yeah. That's awesome. So your brothers definitely influenced your upbringing as far as what you were trying to practice on guitar and stuff.
Yeah, he's a bass player. He's really a multi-instrumentalist now. He plays drums and guitar, and he records his own music. But
which brother is this?
It's my middle brother Justin. Oh. He was in a band, and they toured up and down the West Coast for a while. They were called Government Grown. They were kind of like a jam band. Okay. And he had a couple punk bands too.
They're so cool.
Yeah, they're
Government Grown.
Grown. But I gotta say that 3 times. That was alright, a little bit. Woo.
That's good.
Yeah, she's smoking on that Government Grown.
Zoltar's.
Yeah, the childhood. Yeah, the record Zoltar's Childhood.
Zoltar's Childhood.
I think I have the only copy, but it's amazing.
But we could
put it
on the internet.
I'm trying to get that shit on YouTube at some point.
What? That's so easy. Why have we not done that?
I don't have a CD drive.
Oh, I might.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, we'll get a copy to you and you should listen to it, but it's so cool. Because it was kind of, part of it had to do with like when you go to the fair and you see that fortune teller like
No, and then there's way before Big, after Big,
So
or
is that
before
just
Big,
something
yeah.
my own brain came up with?
Yeah, no, you've seen Big too many times. She's a big Tom Hanks fan.
No, that is actually not fucking true. Fuck you for saying that. Whenever I've heard that record, I have thought of just actually Zoltar and like who Zoltar is.
There's more than one Zoltar, dude. It's
Go to
like-
any
it's like
county fair,
Mohammed,
you'll
it's
see a
popular
mechanical
name.
Zoltar. Like, what are you talking about? Sorry, we're rambling.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we come from different places. Certainly. I mean, Izaac and I couldn't have come from more opposite places, really, when you think about it. But here we are. And you too. I mean, I actually remember the first time I saw you. I know, I remember that moment, and I thought you had, like, a kind face.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, I do.
Where was that at?
I know, I don't remember the venue, but I know it was at a show. I know
Was it the 5 spot?
Yeah, I think that was it. I just remember seeing you and be like, who is that guy?
I was like, we're about to
I
go
like
on
him.
next.
Yes.
I met you and Caitlin and some other person at the bar. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, yeah, I've seen y'all play before. I'm in this band. We're about to play in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I think
then
I
you're
was like, hell
okay,
yeah.
cool, yeah, we'll watch you. And
Yeah.
then, yeah.
And it was awesome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Was fondly remembered that too, because I was like, I wonder if they're gonna think.
No, you sounded great. In fact, I remember watching you and thinking, man, I want to jam with him. Because you're one of those drummers, you know, it's like you can kind of blend into whatever you need to do, but you got mad pocket. And that's like, I can speak for you, Izaac, because I know we look for that above all else. Like our drummer, Jeff, he's been with us since the beginning. He'll probably be with us till the end. And the simple fact is that, well, he's Jeff. We love him. But he plays in the pocket. He doesn't play a
Fat fucking
million,
roots.
billion notes and all this other bullshit. He plays in the pocket, but then when he needs to do something interesting, he does it. It's just
Right.
not like all the time, which
Right.
you want.
Exactly.
At least we want in a drummer.
That's just his nature, man.
Hold
That's
it the
just,
fuck down.
He don't have to change a thing about himself to play with us. It just fits like a glove.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
But we gotta jam with you
definitely.
very
Well,
soon.
I'd love to come jam at y'all's. Y'all have a drum set there,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Okay,
Jeff's
cool.
had set up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you down with the Sonar drums?
Yeah, I love Sonar.
Yeah.
One of my favorite drummers plays Sonar.
Who's
Or
that?
Danny Carey's endorsed by Sonar.
Who's Danny Carey? Who's he
Drummer for Tool.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He actually had studio for the Anima album. He used a Bubinga kit.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Was it a Sonar?
It was a Sonar Bubinga kit.
Jeff's set's really weird because it's both birch and maple. His red set.
Okay.
Oh, the red one.
Yeah, the
That's
red
the one he
one.
has
With the-
since young age.
Yeah, the green one. It's like the red one's like a 96, and then
Sounds nice.
the green one is.
They're all nice. I mean,
it's
they
birch.
sound great.
Yeah, he just bought a new drum set. It's the exact same, just a year later, but it's just birch. But it's, you know, same shells and you know same dimensions and everything. Same size kick drum. I think the low floor tom's a little bit smaller or something. But now he's got two of the same set because all the hardware is the same on his Sonars.
All his kits are Sonar.
Well, both
He's
of
two
them.
of his sets.
And
He's
it's-
had one drum set that was Sonar since he bought it in 1999 or something like
and
that.
then he just bought another kit last year, and it was a Sonar.
Yeah,
too.
same exact set.
How old is it?
Jeff is
40.
Jeff 40, yeah.
Well, he's 41 now.
Oh yeah.
Really?
We went bowling with him. Oh, it was so much fun. He took some mushrooms.
Dude, that's hilarious.
And Jeff, if you knew Jeff, the idea of Jeff taking mushrooms is just such a comical thing. And like, man, he was awesome. He made some strikes too.
Oh, he made some funny comments. He's over here. Look how tall that guy is. Like,
Yeah,
he was cracking my
because
head.
Jeff's a very like analytical kind of like the process kind of dude. He's very like
All right, let's get down to matter of fact. here.
Exactly. And like on the mushrooms, he's talking about how tall people are and like about the lights and like how he feels.
He kind of like
Yeah.
went into the other like side of the brain.
Totally. Me and Izaac were just like, what's going on right now? Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
We love
Embrace
seeing
this.
him like that. We love it.
He drank beer with us. It's
He
awesome.
did. He doesn't really drink. He's a huge stoner.
Oh really?
But oh god, yes. I mean, he'll smoke any of us under the table, but he don't really drink and fuck with anything else.
What is he into? Like, what is his thing?
Oh man, Jeff loves the Beatles
Oh really?
more than anything in the world.
He's all about starting on the left
classic
hand.
rock. Yeah. Oh yes. I mean, right?
Oh yeah. He's
You can comment on more than I can, but
Oh yeah.
I don't play drums. So.
Yeah, Jeff's like one of my best friends, man. I met him the first week I moved here.
Oh really? Where'd y'all meet at?
Brown's Diner. I was
Which, if people have not gone,
Brown's
go.
Diner. I've
Go
never
and.
been there. Where is it?
Hillsborough
Sorry,
Road.
I can't
It's
handle that.
it's
It's no, it's on Blair Boulevard technically.
I guess. Okay, so it's like corner of Blair and fucking Hillsborough, man.
It's across the former Harris Teeter, now Kroger in Hillsborough Village.
It's the oldest beer license in Nashville.
Close to the Army store.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right around the corner.
The same parking lot.
Yeah.
We've parked there many times, and yes, it is the oldest beer license in Nashville.
Yeah, best
Friends
burger in
Diner.
town.
Best. This is what you get. The cheeseburger with the grilled onions.
Mm-hmm. And you tell Daphne that Gabi and Izaac said hi.
Yes, that's what you do. You go in there, you get that. You get some of the only beer they have on tap, which is Budweiser. You get that frosted mug, and that's what you do.
Well, again, what is the name of it?
Brown's Diner, Hillsborough Village.
Okay, good.
Just go.
Yeah, that's where I met Jeff. And he... when I first moved to town, I got a carpentry gig. I was building racks and desks for studios with this company called Sound Construction, and so we're doing all custom installs for recording studios all around town. And I moved here without having a place to live, so I just had that job. So I was kind of like living, at a hotel, living in my car, so I found a place and stuff. But my boss, one of my dearest friends in the world, Todd Beaton,
I love Todd.
Yeah, he saw I was staying at a hotel, and then I bring all my gear in from the car into the hotel room every night, and then before I had to be at work at 7 a.m., I take all my,
Which was a lot of gear.
Yeah, well, it was, 2 guitars, a keyboard. Yeah, I guess it was. Like, I brought, my bullshit
His
down
amps,
with me.
all in his Malibu, his Chevy Malibu, all, like, piled up. And then one time, like, what did he say, your boss? He was like, hey, you got all that gear in your car all the time? And you were like, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, hey, come put it in my office. And he was like, hey, you play guitar. And I was like, yeah, I'm a guitar player. I was 19. And he was like, well, I've been in Nashville 30 years. I won't call myself a guitar player. And I'm like, ooh. He's like, hey, you're so good, kid. Why don't you come down and play with us? Why don't you come sit in? We're doing a set Friday.
Story. Didn't you almost not even go inside? You were so scared.
Well, he was like, I want you to learn 2 songs. He was like, let's do Crossroads, Cream, and then let's do Tour Down. So I went, I learned it, I did the Freddie King, I figured it all out note for note, and I was like, every night I was just like practicing and woodshed, and I was like, I gotta nail these songs. This was my first gig in Nashville, oh my god.
And you didn't even know Brown's Diner was what it was, which is so funny.
Well, no, I get there in the parking lot, I'm like, fuck, I haven't even been here a week yet, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm doing too good at my job yet either. I'm like, fuck, I just gotta go in there, and I gotta nail it, and I was like, I can just drive home.
Because it's also your boss.
Yes, my boss too, shit. And I can drive home right now. Or I can go, and I was like, well, fuck, man, I'll go in, I'll see what's up. So I walk in there with my little guitar case, and it's Browns. And it's like, it's popping, and it's
and you're just like instantly comfortable.
No, I wasn't. I was so horribly uncomfortable. And as soon as I go in there, I'm sitting there in the back with my guitar case, just holding on to it, like, too far from home, man. I'm just a small town kid, and they were like, hey, come on up here, Izaac. And I didn't even get to play my axe. He just handed me his 335. And I was like, oh shit.
That's stressful.
Well,
not to have your own thing.
We played both the songs, and honestly, like, not trying to brag, I crushed it. And like, it was like, it was like the end of a movie or something. Everyone's like, the kid can play. And
hoist him up.
Yeah.
Right, but we're too old to do that.
Yeah, so like, people buy me beers and stuff, and I'm hanging out. But Jeff was the drummer, and I ended up playing with that cover band. We were called Duct Tape, and I played with that cover band for the next 2 years. Last Friday of the month of Browns. And it was a great gig, man. All Allman Brothers tunes, and old blues songs, and Rolling Stones, and shit like that.
But Jeff wouldn't play with us forever. When we first started the Weird Sisters, we would hit him up, be like, hey, or Izaac would be like, want to jam? And then Jeff he was always too busy. Probably because we were new and we sucked. But then eventually we asked him, oh no, we had our first gig ever, and the story goes, it was at the Springwater, January 2017. And I was still so fresh out of classical, I was so fresh.
Dude, she took a sax solo and fucking bowed.
I was about to tell that story, okay? But you gotta just like out with it like that. We don't even have like a preamble. No build up. Yeah, okay, I played the sax solo, and I stood up there like a fucking idiot, and I took a bow.
Into Springwater.
Like I would, like I went on stage in front of a symphony. I was such a fucking noob. And I look at that video now, and I'm just like, wow, I've come so far. You didn't even know anything.
But Jeff was in the audience, and
he felt so sorry for us, because our drummer, may he rest in peace, he's not dead, but...
Yeah, well, you don't play with him anymore.
We don't play with him anymore, so it might as well be. But he was so bad that Jeff like hit us up and was like, "Hey, you guys mentioned jamming before. I think I'll come by sometime." It was his way of saying like they need help.
Yeah, and
so then that's
we were off.
We've been with him ever since.
Nice. So you like felt bad for y'all and came in.
He did. But also, what he does say to this day is that he's like, I thought you guys were great. Like, I love the songwriting. I liked the, the keys, the synth, the guitar, but the drums were just so bad that I felt like I kind of, as a public service, I needed to come out.
Yeah, you totally intervened. Yeah. Very grateful that he did. And
he's definitely the glue that's held us together in a lot of ways, because we've had some rough times, and Jeff's always, we didn't respond, but he texted the band group tonight and said, hey, are we jamming this week or recording?
Yeah. What's his schedule like?
Yeah.
He's the best.
Always amazing.
Well, that's poignant.
I know.
Yeah.
Love Jeff. Love you, Jeff, if you ever hear this.
What's his last name?
Jeff Brown.
Jeff Brown.
On Instagram, Jeff Fatty Brown. Fatty with a PH.
And then there's Brown's Diner.
Yeah.
Oh, I never made this connection.
Yeah.
Did you make that connection?
Probably at one point, but
Bro, thank you. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Give us a Brown, dude.
It's the House of Brown.
It's the only connection I can make right now. I haven't been there, but his last name's Brown. It's called Brown.
I want the first time for him to go to be with us.
Oh, dude, anytime.
To
don't
where?
go
First
until.
time,
Don't go until. Well, Browns. Don't go until we take you or go together.
Don't limit the man. Go to Browns, dude. Fuck this.
No,
Yeah, go.
I want to go together.
Then y'all can tell me the history and everything.
Well, if you're lucky, Daphne will be there and she'll tell you the history. So we should go during the daytime.
Well, the history of how long y'all been there and stuff.
Oh, God.
And the history of y'all's time there.
Well, the very first time...
Well, I'll have to go so y'all can tell me this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. The very first time.
You're opening up a nostalgic,
No, I was about to get all
Wormhole.
steamy-eyed.
Okay, so you've been here 5 years?
Yeah, I moved here in September of 2015. That was my big inauguration.
And when did you say the moment was that you wanted to play music? How old were you?
It was whenever, I was probably playing music before I realized I wanted to play music. But the moment was watching Back to the Future Part 1. Because I had seen Part 3, that was the first one I was allowed to watch, growing up. And then they let me watch Back to the Future Part 1. And just seeing Marty McFly bust out Johnny B. Good I was like, I want to do that. I want to fucking do that, man. And pretty much, as time has gone on, probably take more inspiration from Doc Brown than Marty in some sense. But
Tables have turned.
the tables have turned.
As they do.
Yeah. But that was the big moment for me. Yeah.
And what initially brought you?
Oh, initially, I was in Pittsburgh. I graduated high school. My plan was to graduate high school and immediately let the summer go by and move down to Nashville. I'd been 17, running around in this city, which I probably could not have handled. One thing led to another. Got another band together out in Pennsylvania, and we were playing around. We were called Dr. Nasty and the Mountain Men. And it was a lot of fun. We got a band house and we did the whole thing. And playing shows around the Mon Valley, up in Pittsburgh, all over the place. We were playing a lot. And we were looking for somewhere to move. We're like, okay, cool, we got a band together. Let's take the band and go to Nashville. Let's go to, Seattle. Let's go to, this. And we had all sorts of big plans and ideas. And me, Jordan, and Tom, we came down to Nashville probably 2014. And we kind of took a look around, smoked a blunt on top of the Sheraton when they were, somehow, we just kept going up and we got to the roof. I don't know how. It was when they were building a restaurant too. So we were just up there. It was the middle of winter. We're just up there looking around. It's like, yeah, okay, this is cool. We hit all the record stores, went to some shows, came back. Jordan went into it. I was into it. And I kept making trips down here, man. And it was getting a little tense and the band broke up. And so I got 2 jobs, man. And I was working from 7 to 3 at a country club cutting grass. I was like a professional Bill Murray. And then from 4 until about 11, I was waiting tables at a diner. And I was just saving up all my money. And then after, 11 o'clock would happen, then I would go down and I was working on a record, actually. I had gotten really into recording and started, I recorded an album that summer somehow because I was getting no sleep. I remember I didn't have a day off for 3 or 4 months. And it was just every day was at 7 a.m., 6 a.m.
When you first moved here?
No, this is before I even moved. I was saving money.
Oh, you were saving money.
Fucking planning, yeah. Yeah, so finally I just get enough money together and I was like, cool. I went down, I started applying for jobs, and I got a carpentry job at sound construction, building desks. And it was great because I drove all the way back to Pennsylvania. I emailed in my resume and it was like I pressed send and the phone rang. They were like, yeah, when can you start? And I was like, I need 2 weeks. Is that cool? And they're like, yeah, okay. They didn't think I was going to show up, but they're like, yeah, you have a job if you come here in 2 weeks. So I gave my 2 weeks notice to my 2 jobs.
Bill Murray and the diner.
Yeah, and I packed up my 16-track hard disk recorder, my Gibson SG, my Stratocaster, an acoustic guitar, a couple cables, pair of pants, and I drove to Tennessee. And I ended up staying at the Night's Inn for a minute until I poured milk on their waffle iron. The lady got mad, and then I had to stay at the Days Inn. It was like real early. I'm not a morning person, and they had like the waffle mix in the same jug as the milk, and it was just like.
Can you imagine the smell?
Well, dude, the fucked up thing is I didn't even realize. I was just like, ugh, and I poured the milk.
God bless, what are you doing?
But it went, and I was just like, wow, it's really thin, and I shut it. And I just went and sat down, and then the lady came over, and she goes up to the waffle iron, and she watched me like from the corner of the room do the whole thing, and she just starts cleaning it up and just looking at me, and she didn't speak English, but it was just like,
you fucking idiot.
She was stern.
She's very stern, so I switched hotels. But I was living down, on Bridgechurch Pike, down by Cowan Street. That's where I was working. And I got that carpentry job and I held on to it for 2 years. And did a lot of custom, really cool studio installs. But it allowed me to get an apartment on the east side. And, I wasn't making much money, but it was enough to do it and get my feet wet.
And Todd also, your boss, was the reason you had the gig at Brown's and met Jeff.
Yeah, well, me getting the job at Sound Construction is the reason I met Dan. Dan led me to Aaron. Aaron led me to Russell and Carson.
Russell led me
and then me. Russell led me to you.
True.
So if I hadn't got that job.
Centered around Todd.
And the fucked up thing about that job is, man, I'm in Fanny's House of Music, and
Fanny's.
Yeah, I'm in Fanny's, and it's chill. Like, before I moved here, I was just, she comes up to me, she's like, hey, can I help you with anything? I was like, yeah, I need a job. And she's like, I don't know if I can help you. And then some dude just turned around and was like, hey, kid, you need a job? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you do construction and shit? And I was like, yeah, I can do all that. I used to do roofing and shit with the Amish, and, all sorts of bullshit for money. And he's like, yeah, I can do construction. I was like, I'll say yes to anything. He's like, well, here, go down here. And he gives me like an address. He's like, go talk to Todd. He'll give you a job. So I run down to Sound Construction, and they were just like, they were closed, and it was like the guy was like locking up, and I met Eric, the secretary, and he's like, yeah, dude, I'll give you a job. Just send your application here. We're looking for somebody right now.
It's so cool.
And I got the job, and I just did it. I just did it, man.
And you moved down here within 2 weeks?
No expectations. Just to get closer to music. No band. I had some songs maybe, but I just wanted to learn as much as I could, and so I'm still learning.
Oh yeah, we all are. This is great. I always love that people when they first get here, it's like you always hear it. It's like the birthing story.
Mm-hmm.
When you first get to Nashville, yeah, everyone's going to be doing shit you don't want to do in order to scrape by and get to do barely what you want to do. And then that takes like years or however long until you can finally get to a place where, you know what I mean? And once that starts, it becomes a snowball effect. And eventually you are so big, your snowball destroys the whole town.
Yeah, I just pictured that. That was so intense.
Alright, well, thank y'all for being on it.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks.